Good morning. This is the Talking Cafe for Mendip on Wednesday, the 27th of January. I'm joined by Somerset Waste Partnership with Mark, Ford and Colin. They've been on previously. Morning. And we've been discussing the Somerset Waste Partnership's new scheme. So now we're going to go along and see how it's going, how people are feeling about it, how Somerset Waste are feeling about it, and they've got a few stats and things to share with us. So I'll hand you over to Mark, who can go through a few bits and pieces.
Great, thanks, Bella. So if we, through the magic of technology, can get this couple of little slides up. Can you see that all right?
Yep.
Yay. Hang on, and if I do this, you might have to see all the other weird ones. Hang on. Let's try that. Okay, so recycle more. Now, what I thought would be useful, just to give you a quick update on what's happened since we launched, because we launched back in the end of October, and we had a couple of sessions before then, and I thought it'd be helpful to let people know how it's gone. So what you've got here is a page of basically some figures for what we did in the first 2 months or eight weeks. So that's from the end of October through to just before Christmas, and deliberately just before Christmas, because Christmas makes all kind of stats and numbers go a bit haywire, just because, especially this year with so much recycling. But this just gives you a feel for the difference that Recycle More has made and all that effort that people are putting in. So you've got 8 weeks, an extra 678 tons of recycling collected in Mendip. So that's a 15% increase. What's really useful to note is that's over in the corner there, you've got a 25% increase in plastic. And that's important particularly. So 73 tons, but if you think how light plastic pots, tubs and trays are, that it does equate to a whole lot of space in bins. And you can make some kind of quite rough calculations, and it works out to roughly the same size as 14 double-decker buses, which that helps make it more easy to visualize. I'm not sure, but it's a big load of space and a 25% increase in plastic. And obviously capturing plastic was one of the big things we wanted to do. And I know a lot of people are concerned about plastic recycling. And then obviously there's some other big figures. So as well as, this is primarily introducing more plastic recycling, and as well as cartons and Tetra Packs. You'll notice there's no figure for those yet, because we haven't got a figure yet, because we only kind of get the weights when they leave the depot, and we haven't sent out a consignment yet. But that's all the signs are there's going to be a huge amount of Tetra Pak as well. But you see, we added in small electrical items, so old telephones, irons, hair dryers, whatever. So we've got 13 tons of those were collected from the curbside, about 2 tons of batteries. But you'll see also, as part of this, it's making other materials go up a great deal as well. So you've got food waste, 172 extra tons, 12% increase in food waste. And food waste is dead important when it comes to reducing carbon emissions. And you've got glass gone up 13%, which is great. Cardboard has gone bonkers, as you'll see, 43% increase, 378 tons. But I think I would caveat that with the fact that this period covers kind of the Black Friday run up to Christmas, loads of online shopping stuff. So I wouldn't pretend that that's going to be, ordinarily the situation. That's a bit of an outlier. But the rest of it hopefully gives you a good feel for all that effort. So all the changes that we've made, it is having a significant impact in the way that we'd hope. And actually a very important one is in that bottom right hand corner, rubbish, residual waste. So obviously our aim was to get more recycling, which frees up, which means hopefully less going into your rubbish, and you'll see that figure shows that it is 22%, certainly over 20%. And we really have to wait for a longer period of time to really sort of draw conclusions and say this is the difference it's made. But certainly in those first 2 months, you can see that there's all the signs are that it has made a big difference, which is great, because I know it's taken a lot of effort from a lot of people. The other thing I really wanted to mention about the rollout now is the final stage of it. So at the moment, what we've done, we've gone through and we've changed recycling for everyone who's got an individual curbside collection. But as some of you may know, they're what we refer to as communal sites. So this could be a block of flats, a house of multiple occupancy, retirement developments, and that's where people get their recycling picked up from some sort of communal spot, and it varies. And that's part of the problem. Not problem, but that's part of the issue is roughly over 3,000 households have that sort of collection at 180 sites, and it's a real mix and match at the moment. You'll see some people get communal recycling in a big bin. They can bring it to, but at the moment they can only recycle paper, glass bottles, tins and cans, and foil and stuff. Other sites only have a sort of requested curbside collection, so normally that's just food waste, but sometimes they can request some cardboard and plastic. And some sites, a very small number, get no recycling at all because there's just no space. But suffice to say, it's a real mix, and it's evolved over time rather than being a kind of, this is how it should be done. So it's complicated, it's inconsistent, and what we want to do as part of Recycle More is to improve it as much as possible. So that's what we'll be doing in March. So in the first week or so of March, we'll be effectively bringing Recycle More to communal properties as best we can. So the sort of principles are, wherever possible, we'll try and offer the full curbside service. So that's the blue bag, the small electricals and batteries, the cartons, the whole shebang that you get everywhere else in sort of individual properties. Where we can't do that, we want to expand the communal service. So where they've got bins in a central location, we want to be able to add plastic bottles, pots, tubs, and trays into that, and cardboard. And so we're going to try and that'll about 1,700 people will end up with that sort of service. There'll be new stickers on the bins to show that this is new stuff that you can recycle. So if you'll see those figures below, that in terms of, those two figures there, by the end of this, the vast majority of people will have either the full curbside service or a better communal service. So that's what we're aiming for. There are a few sites where they have a communal service, and some people have an individual service, but not everybody. And in those, so there are a few places where we might take away some individual services, but they get replaced by the expanded communal service. And as much as possible, within reason, we want to encourage people to sign up for food waste collections, because that's one of the best, most important carbon saving bits of recycling you can do. It won't be possible everywhere because everywhere's different, but most of the kind of principles. And the bottom line is we go from what is a real kind of mixed picture, a bit inconsistent and really hard to kind of be efficient with, to 4 services, and you've got those 4 mixtures there. But you'll see almost everybody has either an expanded communal collection or a curbside collection. So sorry, that is a bit of a ramble because it is complicated. I think if you think of it as, it's really complicated and mixed at the moment, we're trying to simplify it and expand it wherever possible. And there'll be some people who get the full service, some people get an expanded communal service, and then there are some few bits and bobs around the edges. So that's all happening at the the second week of March. That's the plan. So as of Friday, a lot of people should be receiving a little postcard, so that everybody who's in a communal property should get a little postcard that looks like this one on the left, and that will be just flagging up that there's some change coming. What it won't say is what it means exactly for you. That will be in a letter that comes out 3 weeks before the change, which will be saying, this is the property you live in, and this is what we're changing your service to, and this is why. And you'll see on the bottom right, we've got some stickers there. That's a picture of a sticker, the sort of things that will be going on the bins to say, hey, you can now recycle all this stuff in this bin. So compared to the big Recycle More rollout in October, this is relatively small, but also really important and quite a tough nut to crack, just because it is so complicated. So that's the slides. So that's that part done. And apart from that, I guess in terms of giving a bit of feedback on how we feel it's gone, it was, I think, as good as better. I don't know, Colin, I don't want to touching wood, but it's gone better than we would have expected. I think those numbers really show that it's having a desired effect. And in terms of, with something, bearing in mind, this is a good 50-odd thousand people being asked to do something quite different, being given a whole kind, a new container to use, all sorts of ways it could have gone wobbling, could have gone wrong. But for the vast majority of people, it's worked really well. Yeah, so we're happy. We're really happy, but not, not taking it for granted, for sure.
And I think one of the things that has performed over and above what we expected was because everybody's at home. We saw the recycling increase, the tonnages increase, the waste increase, because everybody's working from home, including us, as you can see from my background. But over and above that, we still saw the expected increases we had planned for before the COVID impact. So I
That's a
think
really good point.
we can actually say it's gone better than we expected.
Because ordinarily, when we plan this, you think, right, okay, what we'll do, we'll just compare this year to last year, and we can tell you how much better it is. But though this year's gone bonkers anyway, just because of the whole impact that COVID's had. I mean, over Christmas, the weights were up by about 50%, weren't they, Colin, over the Christmas period?
Yeah.
And normally they go up by about 30%. So it's huge amounts of extra recycling that people are doing just because everyone's at home more, doing more online shopping. So it's a really, if you wanted to choose the worst time ever to do, launch a new service change, this would probably have been it. So to have come through it pretty darn well, doing better than we expected in terms of results, it's been really good. And that is down to people, making the effort, doing the sorting, picking up on the new collection days and all that sort of stuff. So we really appreciate it.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad it's going well. And actually, there appears to be a huge amount of recycling going out every week. I know personally, I've got a huge amount of recycling going into my blue bag every week. So
that's good to hear. Yep.
If anybody that's watching has got any questions that they want to submit, then that would be brilliant, and we can answer those as we're going along. If we don't get to them, then we can always forward them on to Somerset Waste Partnership, and they will answer. We did have a few questions that had come in that I thought I'd ask while we're here. So there's a couple of things. Sort of why hasn't cardboard been collected if it's not actually in the black box? So if somebody's got too much cardboard, they filled the black box and then they've added some extra. Is that, are they not allowed to add that extra to the side, or should that have been collected at the same time?
Colin, do you want to take that one? I know you're well versed on that.
I suppose the vehicle itself is a bit like a ship, and it has lots of compartments and if we ask people if they have excessive cardboard, either to put it out over a period of time or to take it to the recycling centres, because if we fill the cardboard compartment of the vehicle, it has to return to the depot, unload, and then go back out again, and it's a bit of a waste of energy when the rest of the vehicle is possibly still quite empty. There is also difficulty because the aperture on the vehicle to get it in is only a certain size. So if we've got big cardboard from a cooker or something like that, the guys haven't really got the ability to get it into the vehicle. What we have seen though through the COVID and the Amazon factor is we've seen a massive increase in card. And what we've had to do, we're doing that less and less now, is we're sending another vehicle behind or sometimes be in front of the truck to collect the cardboard, because we know it's a factor where we're going to blow out. But generally what we would ask is for people to try and keep it to the box. If you've got a lot, put it out over a few weeks. And if you can't, or if you've got too much, take it to the recycling centres.
So we always say sort of cut up or rip up the big bits, flatten boxes where you can, and kind of as a rule of thumb is kind of we'll collect sort of 2 boxes worth, won't we? Something along those lines. It's obviously something you'll probably see when you walk down the road. Sometimes there's just tons and tons of cardboard outside one house, and that's really difficult. Like Colin says, you could probably fill the truck up in like half a dozen houses, and then they've got to go in empty. They can't collect anymore because that stillage is all full. So if you can eke it out, I know that it's difficult at the moment because we're saying only go to recycling centres if it's essential. So I've got a cupboard in the kitchen which is like floor to ceiling with plastic and cardboard at the moment, and I'm trying to gradually eke it out in my sort of weekly collections, and it takes a bit of extra effort, but hopefully not too much.
Yes, it is the one factor that does regularly blow out our vehicles is card.
And I think that's a bit of a societal, like, and the last year, I think we all know we've probably all done a bit more shopping online, haven't we? And then it just all just come in cardboard, and I think we'd always,
we're constantly
shop local where you can.
Yeah, we're constantly trying to improve that. We improved compaction on the vehicles, different type of sliding aperture, etc. But it is still one of the most challenging materials we collect.
Right. So I have had a question in relation to that. So can we still access recycling centres to take excess waste under lockdown? Which I
Yes.
yes.
You can,
Yes.
but it is for essential. I mean, the message is it's for recycling sites are deemed to be an essential service, so that's why they're kept open. But as with everything, like any trip you make, it's all about, if you want to reduce the risk as much as possible, then don't go unless you really need to. And that's different for everybody, isn't it? And when does going to the tip become the recycling site? When does that become an essential journey? And that'll vary for people. If you've got a blimmin', you're in a flat and you've got a load of stuff in the hallway, which that's a fire hazard. That's an essential journey, obviously, and it'll be different for everybody. And I guess we're just asking people to use their own best, the common sense and best interests, and just think, okay, do I really need to make this journey? If I do, that's fine, do it, but don't make unnecessary ones. And that'll vary for everybody, won't it, in terms of where they live and how much waste they've got. I've got a cupboard which I can probably handle a couple more weeks of forcing the door shut because it's full of cardboard. I'm waiting for the time when it's not essential trips only, then I'll try and nip out to the recycling centre and see how long I last.
So do people have to book a slot in advance, or is it just turn up?
No,
So
turn up.
Sorry, Colin, you go.
No, the recycling centres are open as normal. It is advisable to check the website before you go to make sure your particular site is open at that time. But the sites are open as normal. We do ask people that there may be difficulty in getting assistance because of social distancing. The crews are, the staff on site are not allowed to come and help you anymore. We do ask people to wear masks if possible, social distance. All the normal rules apply.
And I know some places in different parts, everyone's doing it slightly differently. Some places have got bookings, you have to get a ticket to go and, you book a slot, you get a ticket. We didn't opt for that. But what I would say, if things get really busy, then we have got, we will say, hang on, we're going to stop some traffic while we clear the site, because what we don't want is a really, over busy site where social distancing becomes difficult. Because when you're at a recycling site, obviously everyone walks this way and that, don't they, to the different skips. So they are open. There are restrictions, and we'd ask you to, if you can avoid it, do. If you can't, then take care when you do come.
Yeah.
Excellent. Mary has asked, please can waste collection be planned into new planning applications for multi-occupancy dwellings?
Well, there's a lot of yes. Well, can it? We certainly try, aren't we, Colin? I must admit, I'm relatively new to this bit of work, but yes, we've got developer guidance that we've written, which is all about when you're going to build a place, you need to factor in how people are going to recycle. In this, in these days, it's got to be part of your design, and not all developers do that. So we've got some guidance which we are, it's just kind of been approved, have to get this approved by districts as well, because they're heavily involved in the planning process, and we're at the stage now of trying to get developers to put it in, incorporate it when they're designing their developments. Sorry, that's a bit vague. Colin, can you add to that?
Yeah, it is difficult. There are a number of pressures, there is pressures on providing housing. There is pressures on providing collection service. So there's a lot of competing demands on the service, and it is sometimes difficult. You don't want to prevent a housing scheme going ahead because the bin area might be too small and prevent 250 additional houses. It's a balancing act like anything, but we do try where possible. And it is becoming more and more common that developers will follow the guidance because they can see the long-term advantage in having adequate bin and recycling facilities for the residents.
So that sounds quite positive then, really, working on it.
It's a long game, though, isn't it?
It is a
Colin,
long game.
It's like a lot of this stuff.
I've been doing it for 20 odd years, and it's we are turning a corner. And of course, we have inherited some 70s housing estates and stuff where, where they've got internal bin storage areas which were not designed for the amount of rubbish we throw away
Yeah.
and the amount of recycling we throw away. It's our habits have changed immensely.
Yeah. Yes. Sarah has said, do you take things like toothpaste containers, toothbrushes, used cleaning scouring pads, and body washer nettings?
Blimey.
Well, that's got to be the question of the day.
What I would so Colin might be able to answer some of this, but what I would say is there's a project we're looking at the moment which will be an A to Z of so trying to brainstorm all the different things one could conceivably want to get rid of, and then say, okay, what's the best thing to do with that in Somerset? Because it varies from place to place. So how can I get rid of toothpaste tubes? Where do you go to in Somerset? Are there individual schemes? Can you, what box you put it in? All that sort of stuff. So we are looking at doing a really comprehensive, this is all the stuff you might want to get rid of. Here's how to best get rid of it. I don't know about those ones. I'm sorry. Colin, do you know much about?
What I would suggest is there's a multiple of different compounds and combinations of materials out there. We have ticked off most of the big items. If you are concerned about it, until we find out more, I would suggest that we're no longer putting stuff to landfill. And if the wrong material does end up in with the recycling, it reduces the likelihood that the rest of it can be recycled or can reduce the value of the recycling. So as much as it pains me to say this, I would suggest that actually if you're in doubt, I suggest putting it in the refuse bin to go to energy from waste.
There's an organisation that's worth mentioning called TerraCycle, who
Yes.
it's an interesting it's a national, maybe international organisation. I'm not totally sure, but if you have a look at TerraCycle, it's probably terracycle.com. They basically coordinate very local level collections. So if you typed in there toothpaste tubes, Somerset, it will probably show you there's probably 2 or 3 locations where someone is actually collecting them to recycle. It's a bit odd, but it's kind of almost every single any item you could find. If you put it in there, there'll be somebody who's collecting it for recycling. And sometimes the collections are like, at the end of somebody's garden, things like that. But the individuals take it upon themselves to try and collect this sort of stuff for their communities. So it's all good stuff. So if you're wondering what to do, it's always worth a little go at the TerraCycle website, because you may find it's got a local way of recycling it.
So that would also go for, because she's also asked about empty medicine containers, so metal ointments.
Some of these I've kind of almost got in my. I think I almost know the answers, but I don't want to say it because I'm not 100% sure, and I'd have to go away and scroll through a few documents. But Bella, if you take these, forward them over to me, I'll go and rifle through some folders, and I'll be able to give the answers to most of that, because I have got it down somewhere. I just can't. It's not right to hand.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose the difficulty we all have in this industry is there's a lot of these are a compound mix of materials, which are not readily. We don't have the outlets anymore. I mean, we've got the outlets for probably 70% of what we take. And sometimes it's not just the fact, can it be recycled? Is there anybody recycling it? Is there value in it? Is there? So it's not always as straightforward. If it has a recycling symbol on it, it doesn't necessarily mean that anybody's recycling it.
No,
Virtually everything is recyclable.
Anything we collect, we've got to do something with it. It either goes to a reprocessor, or it goes to now energy from waste. So yeah, so if there's if there's not a big enough market for people who will take toothpaste tubes, it's difficult for us to move them on. But that's the same for everybody. It's in cold hard market when it comes down to it. It's what we collect. That's why sorting it's really important, because if you get really good quality, well sorted stuff without any contamination by other types of material, then we can easily move that on. We can move it on to somebody in the UK so it doesn't go abroad. So those horror stories about, plastics being trucked off to Indonesia or whatever, that doesn't happen because it's good stuff and you can get it to a processor in the UK who can, less less mileage, and it'll end up back on the shelves in the UK in new items. So that's why that sorting at the curb is really important, because that's the best way to do it, the best way to get the best quality.
And it's possibly why some people might see Somerset as being late to the party as far as the pots, tubs and trays and that are concerned. But the reason we are late to the party is because we're very conscious that what we collect is recycled. It is generally recycled in the UK. It doesn't end up on a beach in Thailand or something like that. We've always been very careful, and we're always wanting to be entirely convinced that what we're collecting is going through the right channels to the right end.
Yeah, get it. So I also do have another few more questions, if you're all right.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
So if somebody doesn't have quite enough rubbish to fill both the black and the green bin, are they able to mix that together? So can they put contents from the cardboard and the paper, for instance, into the green box so that they don't have to put both out?
Yes,
they can. I mean, I guess there's two ways to approach it. Is either putting it out once every 2 weeks, or if you need to move the stuff, then you can put it in the same box, can't you? And if you're regularly not using both boxes, then you can put it in one box. But I'd ask you to try and keep it separate within the box as much as possible. Is that fair to say, Colin?
Yeah, I mean, the difficulty is that there are different compartments on the vehicle, and it's partly the box is designed to hook onto the vehicle, and that part of the vehicle accepts those materials, and then they have to unhook it and take it to the other end of the vehicle and do the other materials. But there's no problem with doing that. You can, like Mark says, keep it. Don't put it out every week. Put it out every couple of weeks, or if not, we will take the material in a single box, but try and keep it as separate as they possibly can to help the crews.
Because I guess if you're living on your own, you haven't got much storage space, then, and you're not generating an awful lot of recycling, then one box might be all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one came in saying that they had filled their blue bag and the recycling men come past, clearly see it and leave it behind. What is there a reason for that possibly, or is that just
human error? I would have thought maybe intended to go back for it, or thought his
without knowing the
partner was
specifics,
going
it's
to
hard
pick
to
it
say.
up.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a recurring thing, then that is a problem, I guess. Yeah, it could be a one-off human error, because if for any reason they may not take it if it's got lots of the wrong materials in it. But then in those instances, they should leave a little tag on it explaining why that's the case. But so I don't know if that was a one-off or a recurring thing. Bella, do you know? Or
well, they did say to me it happened
sometimes.
but would that be something that, I mean, they're saying that they've collected the rest of the road, so would they be able to report a miscollection?
Yeah, that's a miscollection.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like it's a miscollection. Like I say,
so we apologise on the behalf
happen.
of the crews. So without knowing a bit more about, but sometimes I guess it might be weird and wonderful locations that it's easy to miss if it's perhaps a new member of staff or something. But without knowing the detail, but apologies. But yes, that's a textbook missed collection. If you log it with us, the crews now have little handheld devices which keep record all this sort of stuff. So if you report it, they should be able to pick it up next time.
Right. Okie doke. And then there was somebody who had a wrong containers leaflet left for them, but it wasn't an up-to-date leaflet. It was one that didn't have the blue bag existing on it. So I'm wondering when we would be getting new ones that would be issued so that the information would be given.
Well, they should have those. Should have those now. Can only assume that this is perhaps somebody using a bit of old stock, perhaps trying to do the right thing by reusing stuff and not chucking it away, but not quite realizing that it hasn't got the latest. They haven't got the latest version. So again, apologies for that. I would have thought that would all be sort of flashed out of the system by now. Now that we're a few months in, so if you've got a location, we can certainly pass that on to the crews and say, can you just make sure you're using the right tags?
Yeah, there might be the odd stray box of old tags managed to get hidden in the back of a cupboard somewhere. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, we'll certainly have a look at it.
Okey-doke, wonderful. Well, that's it for my questions. And I can't see that we've got any more. Sarah says thank you for trying to answer her. And she hope for her.
Was that the toothpaste lady?
And yeah.
Yeah, and do genuinely, if you've got that in a list somewhere, email it over, and I can get it back to you, Bella, and if you can pass it on, there will be answers to some of those things. Some of the answers might have to be sorry, but we can't. But there will be. I'm sure there's a home for some of those bits and bobs.
Yeah.
And thank you for making the effort to think it through and see what you can recycle.
Yeah, because it's always good to have a question we can't answer, because then it goes and makes us look for the answer. So the next time we get asked, we'll know. So thank you very much for asking us.
And you're planning to roll out into other areas soon, is that right?
That's right. So Mendip was first, and we're due to go to South Somerset from the end of June, and then what was Taunton Dean area at the end of September, and then finally sort of Sedgemoor and West Somerset in spring, so February, March time in 2022. So that's the plan. I guess like every other plan in the world at the moment, there's a slight kind of a slight kind of nagging worry at the back of your mind, but all being well, then we'll stick into that timetable. So fingers crossed for everybody's sake. But yeah, that's the plan.
Okay, excellent. Well, as there's no more questions that have come in, we will wrap it up for today, and I will try and get those questions over about the toothpaste containers for you and get them back. And yeah, lovely. Good luck with your schemes going forward.
No, thank you. Thanks for that. And
thank you. Yeah, thanks to everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. Thank
Cheers.
you. Bye-bye. Bye.